Have you ever noticed that the goals you talk about the most are often the ones you never finish? And the ones you kept to yourself, quietly without telling a soul, somehow got done? That's not a coincidence. There's actually a reason it happens, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why speaking your goals out loud can quietly sabotage them, and what to do instead. If you enjoy stories about human behavior, psychology, and the quiet lessons hiding inside everyday life, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Introduction. This is the story of a woman named Adiz, a baker in a coastal town, and a mistake she made for almost a decade without realizing it. But it's also something bigger than her story. It's about a strange trick our minds play on us, one that researchers have actually studied, and one that might explain why your last 5 New Year's resolutions quietly disappeared by February. Adiz grew up watching her mother run a small stall selling bread at the edge of the market. She always said that one day she'd open a proper bakery, not just a stall, but a real shop with a wooden sign and glass display cases. Every year, around her birthday, she'd announce it again. She'd tell her cousins, her neighbors, the women at church. "This year," she'd say, "I'm finally doing it." And every year, people would light up. They'd tell her how proud they were. They'd talk about how good her bread already was, how she was clearly meant for this. She'd go home that night feeling like she'd already accomplished something. And that feeling, that specific feeling of having already arrived, is where the trouble started. Within a few weeks, the excitement always faded. She'd tell herself she was just busy. Life got in the way. There were bills, a sick parent, a slow season at the market. Reasonable excuses every time. But underneath the excuses was something she didn't notice for years. She never felt the same hunger to start that she felt in the moment she announced it. This went on for 9 years. 9 birthdays, 9 announcements, 9 bakeries that never opened. The turning point came from an unlikely place. A customs officer named Tund, an older man who bought bread from her stall every single morning without fail. One day he asked her, gently, why she kept talking about the bakery but never seemed to start building it. She admitted she didn't know. She just always felt so motivated right after she told people. And then it evaporated. Tund told her something that stuck with her. He said that years earlier he'd read about a study psychologists had found that when people announce a goal and get social recognition for it, their brains treat that recognition almost like a preview of the finished goal. The praise satisfies something in the mind before any real work has happened. And once that need is partly satisfied, the drive to actually do the work weakens. Adiz didn't fully understand the science, but she understood the pattern. She'd felt it every single year without having a name for it. So she tried something different. She decided she would build the bakery. But this time, she wouldn't tell anyone until it was done. This idea isn't just a nice story, it lines up with something real in behavioral psychology. Researchers who study motivation have found that publicly stating an intention can create what's sometimes called a social reality around that goal. Meaning your mind starts to treat the goal as partially achieved simply because other people now know about it and have responded to it. The identity boost happens instantly. The actual accomplishment doesn't. It's a strange kind of shortcut. Announcing a goal is easy and immediately rewarding. Doing the work is hard and the reward is delayed, sometimes by months or years. Given the choice between an instant reward and a delayed one, most human brains, not just Adiz, will quietly choose the easy path unless something interrupts it. This is part of why so many people find that private, unannounced goals tend to have more staying power. Without an audience, there's no early payoff to chase. The only way to feel any satisfaction is to actually do the thing. That doesn't mean all sharing is bad. Accountability partners, coaches, and support systems can genuinely help. The difference seems to lie in when and how something is shared. A quick public announcement followed by applause is very different from ongoing, structured accountability to someone actively checking on your progress. Adiz quietly began saving, without telling her cousins or the church group. She rented a tiny space nobody paid attention to, since it looked more like a storage room than a shop. She fixed the shelves herself on weekends after closing her stall. No one asked her about it because no one knew. Some weeks she barely made progress. Other weeks she worked late into the night rewiring the old oven herself, burning her hand twice in the process. But there was no crowd cheering her on, and strangely, that made her more determined, not less. Every bit of effort had to come from her, because there was no other source of motivation left to lean on. 8 months later, the bakery opened. She hung a small sign outside her door on a Tuesday morning, with flour still on her apron, and simply started serving customers. Tund was the first one to notice, walking by on his usual route. He stopped in the doorway, stunned, and asked when all of this had happened. Adiz just smiled and told him it had been happening the whole time. He just hadn't heard about it because this time she hadn't told anyone. Word spread through the town within days. But by then, the bakery was already real. There was nothing left to fall through, because the work was already finished before anyone had the chance to celebrate it too early. Adiz Bakery is still open today, and by all accounts, she's never gone back to announcing her plans before starting them. She still shares her successes, but only afterward, once there's something real to show. Her story is a small one, but it points to something a lot of us recognize in ourselves. We live in a world that rewards announcements. Social media practically runs on them. But the applause we get for saying something is not the same as the satisfaction of actually doing it, and mistaking one for the other is an easy trap to fall into. Maybe the lesson isn't to hide every goal you have. It's to be honest with yourself about why you're sharing it, for accountability or for applause. Because only one of those actually gets the work done. So here's what we've covered today. How public praise for a goal can trick your brain into feeling like it's already accomplished, why that quietly kills your motivation to finish, and how one woman broke a 9-year cycle simply by choosing silence over applause. If this video gave you something to think about, let us know in the comments. Have you ever announced a goal and then lost the drive to finish it? We'd love to hear your experience. If you enjoyed this story, give the video a like and subscribe for more real, thoughtful stories about the quiet psychology behind our everyday choices. We've got more coming very soon. Thanks for watching, and here's to finishing quietly and celebrating loudly only when it's real.